whenever we see cases of hyperinflation, like Weimar, like some emerging markets, generally you need a combination of a couple things. One is you needed a destruction of your productive base, and so that happened in the Weimar Republic, that happened in Zimbabwe, and that can be due to a lost war, or it can be due to really bad internal social policies.
Is that what's happening in Venezuela today?
Yes, exactly. That's another case of hyperinflation happening. And so you have that kind of severe drawdown in the productive base. So they can't make enough goods and services to satisfy their needs. So regardless of how much money they print, the prices start going up rapidly. A second thing that helps contribute to hyperinflation is when they owe debt in a currency they can't print. So a lot of emerging markets today, like Argentina, for example, they owe debt that's denominated in dollars. Whereas developed countries like, Japan, the United States, their debts are mostly denominated in their own currencies. And so those hyperinflationary events tend to have those couple recipes. But for example, you often refer to the 1971 period, and that was a case of rapid inflation for the United States, but it didn't reach the levels of hyperinflation because we still had our productive base. We didn't have a collapse in our economy. We just had a really sharp devaluation of currency. And so it was something that the currency wasn't completely obliterated, it was just severely damaged. And that's kind of the outcome is my a base case, I think, going forward over the next decade, is that you can see in developed countries pretty significant currency devaluation.
So that's my question. So what's your crystal ball say between 2020 and 2030? Okay, like I make fun of Biden and I call his cabinet the monsters. I've got to entertain myself because I flunked out of school. I was watching TV too much. And, I say when Janet Yellen was head of the Treasury, head of the Fed, and if because we don't know if they made it in, at the time of this broadcast, we don't know if they've made it yet. And if Janet Yellen becomes head of the Treasury, that's separate, the separation between the Fed and the government are gone. They're one now. And so that's the reason I was excited about having you come on the program, is given your, what I call quantum or quantum physics thinking, what's going to happen when the monster takes over?
So I think this process is probably going to take several years to play out. And so it's going to start, I think, in the next, handful of years. And it's one of those things where at first, when you get some degree of, they call it reflation, like you start from like a low period of inflation, you get that kind of higher inflation. At first, it can feel good to a lot of people. And so, for example, that's what it felt like this year, when stimulus checks go out and when you have that kind of rebound. And so next year, if you get a decline in the dollar versus other currencies, if you get inflation that goes up to, the official way they measure it, which, that's a whole nother discussion, but if that goes up to 2-3%, in the next, maybe 2 years, that can feel good at first. And then the problem is, at that point, they're very likely to overshoot because, a lot of their deficits at this point are structural, right? So even just taking out discretionary spending, if you just focus on entitlements and military and interest on the debt, that already is pretty much all, incoming tax receipts. And so,
So Lynn, we crushed the economy. It's exactly as you said, what happened in Germany was it crushed production. And that's why when I asked Sarah to invite you on this program, I want to know what your crystal ball says. We've done everything exactly as the Weimar Republic did with the economy. It was at the pay reparations. The economy was crushed, production went out. Same thing happened in Zimbabwe, same thing in Venezuela. So I want to know what LYN Alden's crystal ball says 2020 on. Oh, wait, so we come back. I'm prompting you right now because, anyway, that's why I was sat next to the smartest girl during test time. Lynn's definitely that smartest girl. I went to an all-male school, so I couldn't sit next to the smartest girl because there wasn't one. But anyway, somehow I made it through. And the reason military school is important is because we studied economics. And there's 3 kinds of economics. There's military economics, socialist economics, and capitalist economics. And when in 1971, I'd already graduated from school, I'm flying in Vietnam, and Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. And so that's when it twigged me, because I had different types of education, different economics from what they teach regular kids. So our economics in school and business schools today in the US are socialist, Keynesian. You can print money. That's not what he said, but that's what they interpreted. So we have LYN Alden, and she is, like I said, that she's an EE, electrical engineer, the smartest of all engineers. She thinks differently. And so when she looks at the current economic system and she studies history, I want to know, how is history going to repeat? That's my question. Are we just like Hitler, what brought Hitler to power, 1933? Or is what's going to happen in America Zimbabwe? And I was in Zimbabwe when it came down, and today we have Venezuela. And so is the United States repeating, is history repeating right now? So with that, Len, take it away.
Yeah, so you talked a lot about destruction of productive capacity, like when you're talking about what happened here in the United States as well. And
Shut
so
down
I
the
think
economy. Yeah.
exactly. And I think one of the key things to watch is the destruction in production of commodities. And so, if you look at a lot of commodity prices, exception of gold and silver that have done really well recently, a lot of them are roughly the same price they were 10 or 15 years ago. And that's because we had this period of commodity oversupply. So, for example, a lot of cheap money allowed us to apply new technologies to get more oil and gas out of the ground. We had that period of kind of copper oversupply. And so a lot of those things were in a period of oversupply, and that feels really abundant. However, because prices have been in that kind of, they haven't been rising in many cases for several years, that incentive to get new production has diminished.